Welcome to Geeks Corner. I am Mr. Daps.
I'm Katie.
Katie, pop quiz. What sound does a sneeze naturally make?
A chew?
Wrong. Sneezes have no natural sound. It is a learned affectation based on the environment you're in.
Really?
Yep. In different cultures, there are different sounds naturally associated with sneezes that completely different than a chew. And it's just because that's what people do when they emulate other people. The natural sound of a sneeze is just an inhale and an exhale.
This is really like a lot to process, more than other weeks. This one's really messing with me.
It's more than other weeks, but some things always remain the same. Like my name, I'm Cameron. Use the hashtag Geeks Corner to talk at us. And if you want, you can also talk on the YouTube if you're streaming right there. We will be able to talk at you back, most likely, possibly from both.
If everything works, we will be great. And we're joined tonight by Doug Marsh, who's a longtime friend of mine and the writer behind 30 Years in Disneyland. I almost said 30 Years at Disneyland, and I had this moment of like, wait, we changed it.
30 years at 30 years in. I'm there. I was there back then. And 30 seconds ago, I was not in this studio.
I was starting to wonder. I was like, Doug might be bumped till next week. We'll see what happens. But we're glad it worked out. And as you can see, things are a little bit different tonight. We're trying some different technology. And we'll see how this all plays out. Hopefully it's great. And I like it so far. You guys can let me know what you think after the show too. And while we're at it, we're just going to give a big shout out to Roger, who's running our socials tonight over in, I don't even know what city you're in, Roger, but you're doing a great job, and you've known Doug forever too. So thank you. We are going to start out tonight mixing things up just a little bit because we had breaking news this afternoon that, ironically, I'm trying to remember who I told this to, but I remember it was a day or two ago, and I was like, oh, just watch. When they do the earnings call, all that's going to really be announced that's exciting is Shanghai Disneyland is going to open this month. And I was saying it very tongue-in-cheek, but I kind of was like, it kind of makes a little sense. And lo and behold, this afternoon on the earnings call, it was announced that on May 11th, Shanghai Disneyland will begin a phased reopening for guests to visit. I'm going to just go around the screen, and I don't know if you guys are all seeing the same thing as I am. So I'm in the top left corner as I look at this. Is that what you guys see too? And then Katie's in the top right.
Yes.
And then Doug's down left right by the DAPS logo, and then Cameron's bottom right. Okay, cool. I love it when it looks the same. See, this is already better than Zoom.
True.
And other than it was hard
snazzy backgrounds behind us.
That is true. Actually, we can. There is a way to do it. We just haven't figured it out yet.
I just got here. So.
You'll figure it out maybe next month. So, Katie, what do you think about the reopening, the phased reopening of Shanghai Disneyland in literally, what is that, 6 days?
6 days.
Yeah.
I think that what they haven't made as public is that they've been doing a lot of testing over the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
They have had cast members inside Shanghai Disneyland figuring all this stuff out. And so it seems like it's very rushed. Can you not hear me?
I can hear you.
We can hear you just fine.
Okay.
I was just responding on YouTube.
I was getting nervous.
You're good. We were all being polite and attentive and totally engrossed in what you were saying.
Wow, that's a first. I'm not used to that.
You're welcome.
So now that I have your attention. No, so I think that it seems a lot more rushed than it actually is. And I do think that it'll be interesting to see what actually happens come May 11th. I know it's going to be reservation only, but I don't know if I think we're going to kind of get a gauge of if people are going to flock to the parks when they reopen or if that's just not the priority right now.
All right. Cameron, what do you think is going to happen?
You see, the thing about a phased reopening is it's working under the assumption of a double fixed point. You see, beaming technology has been around for a long time. Teleportation works on the phase principle. And in order for a proper phase to actually happen, you have to assume empty space at both locations with enough atmospheric density to be able to conform to whatever thing you are attempting to replicate in the same way a replicator functions. It's how they make food.
Katie, are you paying attention? This is important for Star Trek.
I'm taking
Right.
notes.
So,
Okay.
I mean, there hasn't been a case of phasic madness since, I mean, the days of 1701A at the very least, or probably previous to that. So it's assumed that opening in this fashion is going to be just fine because the technology is sound. You just got to make sure your catalytic converters are actually properly set, and they use isolinear chips as the conduit for the technology. They used some other grid structures in the past, but it just never worked as well.
Yes. Doug, what do you think about Shanghai Disneyland reopening in 6 days?
In 6 days? Well, China's ahead of us in terms of where they are in the curve.
Yeah.
So I am going to say, as long as the health professionals are on board with it, then I am too.
And who knows?
And everything will be fine in the garden. And if you know that pop culture reference,
now do you think
sympathies?
Now, do you think this is really I mean, not really, but this was what, 3.5 months after it closed? It closed, was it January 25th? That's the number in my head.
That sounds correct.
That's a shot in the dark. That's just the number or the date that's in my head. Maybe
to be completely
somebody
honest,
can check for me.
I'm looking.
Thank you. So this is 3.5 months. And yes, they are further along in their curve or their process or whatever it is. So that would, if we were to use that as a timeline for potentials of domestic parks, that means July. Is that correct? Is my math correct?
Roughly, yeah.
Okay, and I'm not making any predictions with this because I don't think there's any predictions to be made. As we heard on the earning calls today, they were very direct that they don't have a direct date in mind.
January 23rd.
23rd. I was 2 days off.
You were 2 days off. You were so close.
So close. But anyway, do you guys really, do you think this is a kind of a test run for what we're going to see here in the United States?
I think so, for sure. I think
to a certain extent, yes.
I think they have some ideas for what is going to work, and they're going to trial and error and figure it out. Yeah. But I also don't know that they're going to follow the exact same timeline for domestic parks.
So here's the thing I love about Disney is, did I catch I wasn't on the call, but did I catch that they announced also today that they've already lost $1 billion because of this shutdown?
Yes.
But that wasn't the story that came out of this. The story was Shanghai Disneyland is opening in 6 days. And I love that about Disney because they all brought it back to the magic. And then they also brought it, they did the magic first. And then they came in and they did the warm blanket of, here's our chief medical officer saying, this is how we're going to keep it safe. And she gave some tidbits on that as well. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Having a CMO is impressive. I think leading with science is the best strength they can do.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where my ridiculous answer and other answers to if it was appropriate timing agree, in that they're both scientifically based. As long as we're listening to the healthcare professionals and medical professionals that are actually studying it, we're going to be fine. But it's up to them, and it's not up to any geopolitical opinion otherwise. Listen to the science, please.
And it seems like they are. Any other thoughts on all of Shanghai and potential Disney parks opening it someday?
I think the things that came out of the
well, we know someday that everything will be everything
open in one way or another.
Not gonna stay like this forever.
Yes,
not going to stay like this forever. But I find myself wondering if all the domestic parks will open at the same time, because the states themselves are doing things in different ways. But the Walt Disney Company is its own monolith entity to a certain extent. So that's another big question. And then too, as the different countries open, will people want to travel to the different parks?
Yeah. So just flipping the coin, basically, Walt Disney World or Disneyland first?
Disney World.
Disney World.
Yeah. But it'll be Disney World because Florida's crazy.
Well, they also have much.
There's no such thing as California man on the internet.
That's true.
That is true.
Yes.
They also just have so much more space to have social distancing.
Yeah.
Which is something that Anaheim is not so lucky to have.
Yep. All right. Well, let's move right on, because I think this is going to be a story that continues on for the coming months and weeks, and there's going to be lots of questions. And even when the parks open, we aren't going to know what to expect. And that's really going to be interesting. And I think we were talking about it a month ago, where this very much is after 9/11, where we're looking forward into, like, what are the parks going to be like with new security procedures and protocols and all of those things. And I think we're going to go into a whole new era like that. We are going to kick to the past, though, for a brief few minutes. And 15 years ago today, we heard Julie Andrews do that wonderful opening to Remember Dreams Come True about 12 minutes ago, if I remember correctly. And I don't remember, it was 9:30, I think, is when they were doing fire. It might have been 9:25, actually, as I'm thinking about it. But we got to hear her do that wonderful intro to Remember Dreams Come True. We got to see Parade of Dreams for the very first time, unless you're people like Doug that happened to show up, and we'll let him share his story in a minute. Or and then also there was another parade. Does anybody else remember the second parade that came out on that day at
Is it
Disneyland?
Block Party Bash?
Block Party Bash opened today, 15 years ago as well. And I still, somewhere in this office, I have one of those little balls they'd throw at you. Didn't they throw ball? Was that the one they threw balls at you? The little foam balls at the beginning of Block Party Bash, and then they stopped doing it?
Folks throw things at the parks most times I go.
No,
so-
cast
I
members.
was thinking it was Pixar Play, but then maybe I'm mistaken.
No, I'm pretty sure it was.
Was it?
Play Parade, they shoot water at you and play
That's-
Parade.
Well, yes, they did lots of that too. Well,
Yeah. Anyway, the 50th started 15 years ago today, and that's such a fantastic thing to recognize and celebrate and remember, because that was I think such. And Roger is confirming for me that yes, Block Party Bash did throw the balls. So it was a very special thing. I don't know. Doug, I know, was there. I'm pretty sure.
oh yes.
And you were there in a media capacity at a higher level than I was.
I saw it all the day before, actually.
Yeah, so you were there the day before. We just got
Yes.
the hotel the night before. It was the first thing Disney ever gave us. And Katie, I don't think you were there yet, because you were
I
how old?
wasn't alive.
Okay.
I was 9.
You were 9.
I don't know if you remember this, but the public was told that Disneyland was closed the day before so they could make final preparations. And we were all sworn to secrecy because they didn't want to have a lot of people trying to sneak into the park.
But
So
you could see
they
the
were not
fireworks
making
from my
final
room.
preparations. They were hustling us from one place to another. And I actually just found my disc filled. There it is. This is my
That's
disc
cool.
of all the photos that I took on the 4th. 241 photos.
That is
And most
so
of them
cool.
are of Julie Andrews and Jingles, I think. Because
I
you know,
believe that.
when Julie Andrews is standing there mugging.
Oh, we lost Doug for a second. There you are.
Yeah,
But yeah, we're getting
one point of order for correction. Dame Julie Andrews,
Dame.
please.
I
She,
I never could
was not
screw
yet.
up the courage to refer to her as a dame, but
Our High Lady Dame Julie Andrews, Knightess of the Realm of England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. She
now
worked hard for
was
that
she
title.
in 2005? That's the question.
I think she was knighted late 90s, right?
I don't know.
I do know that one thing she was very, very proud of. You remember that she was the honorary ambassador,
Yes.
and she was very, very proud of the fact that they gave her one of those spiffy big ambassador pins.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
She-
Yes.
She loved showing that off to people. And she, there is my pin, and she says, "I get to keep this." So
That
she
is
was very happy to
amazing.
get that.
Julie Andrews made a dame in the year 2000.
2000. So she was. Okay.
Yes.
Huh. That is weird. All right. Well, Doug did get to see the Parade of Dreams, which to me was one of the highlights of the 50th anniversary. And that parade, I was thinking about it, for how long Sensational ran. Parade of Dreams was really a short run. It was
That's
3 or
right.
4 years. And you got to see it before just about everybody, Doug. And how did that
Oh.
happen?
Well, what happened is, you may recall, and now was Daps Magic posting things regularly in 2005, by 2005?
In a very different fashion, yes.
Okay. Well, there were sort of the big three websites, which was Mouse Planet,
Yes.
Mice Age, and Laughing Place. And then there were, the other websites, and everyone was vying to be the first ones to get actual photos of the Parade of Dreams.
Yep.
We had been shown renderings, and there had been occasional glimpses of like pieces of the parade being hauled backstage and things. One website actually posted someone outside one night shooting sideways through a gate, through the tunnel, and onto Town Square. And we were seeing bits and pieces of parade dancers and performers going by, including performers that were in half costumes and things, which the park wasn't happy about. So I found out it was Friday. Let me see here.
Oh, you got the date.
Friday, April 22nd, 2005.
Oh,
I
cool.
was walking into the park. There's the disc right there.
Wow.
And to my utter shock and surprise, what I thought was the whole parade was lined up on Main Street. And there were dancers performing and people cheering and cast members savagely moving the crowd along. Keep moving, keep going. And there were boom cameras moving up and down. And I finally figured out they were shooting the commercial for Parade of Dreams. Now, I thought it was the whole parade, but it was actually only about 3 or 4 units. But
Do you remember
lead
which
unit
units
was
they
out
were?
there?
Okay.
Yes. Well, I found photos, of course, and I found, and now because we're on a completely new thing that I've never seen before, I don't know if I can reverse my camera. Can I?
I don't know.
Because do you want to see a couple of actual videos
If it works,
that were shot on that day? I'm going to bravely try this.
we'll see what happens.
We're moving. We're going to see what happens here. Okay,
As you do
swing
this,
around here.
Katie just
Okay.
saw this parade for the
See?
very first time.
Do you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now let me see here if I can. There we go. This was on the 22nd of April.
Wow. That sounds about right.
Huh.
Wow.
I have 3 short little clips here for you. So here comes the second one. Is that still? Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
you're
kind of
on.
like not. Okay, here's the second one.
I love the jib. So they just had it in one spot and they were doing the show stuff, huh?
Yes, they had it parked and they were moving around and doing things.
Huh. Wow.
And then one more little clip here. I found a bunch of them.
So they were really just the beginning of the parade.
Yes, and also this was shot on. Are you seeing this? There
Yep.
we are.
Yep, it's working.
This was shot on my Olympus camera, which had this incredible 3 minutes worth of video that you could shoot on it.
That sounds about right. But you could only put 10
Yep.
minutes up on YouTube anyway, so it was fine.
Well, I had to choose carefully what I was going to use, and I also took photos that day. Let me show you this first one here. Is that it right there?
That's
Okay,
it.
there you go. There's the sign telling you we are going to be shooting. So if
Huh.
you don't want to be in the picture, go away.
Or get away. Yeah.
And here is the
Wow.
lead float and one of my favorite pictures from the day.
Oh, that's fun.
And here's another one that's kind of fun.
That was such a cool float, and I
And-
felt like it was always underrated.
Yes, cast members hanging out between the shoot. And even now, talk about behind the scenes. Here's something you would not see out on
getting
the main street
the wig
of
fixed, huh?
Disneyland. And then these next three are just for you, Robert. Yes, it's the tech crew.
Oh, wow.
There's the storyboard for the commercial.
Huh.
And that shows, you'll want to see this one up close, I'm sure.
And that would
later.
be all digital today.
Oh yeah, today. And then here's the either PAs or the director or someone
Oh, that's
in there.
cool.
They're dark intent, and then here they are. This is how it looked to them. This is really interesting to manipulate because I'm looking down over the side of the camera. This superior technology we have. Now, do you remember this float? How well do you remember this one?
Oh, I love that float. I stood by it every Sunday.
And do you remember thinking to yourself, that must be one of the most amazing audio animatronics? Because you remember...
No, I didn't, because I knew how it worked.
You knew how it worked. Well,
I had friends.
Right. A lot of people thought it was a highly sophisticated audio animatronic.
But it wasn't.
Of course, the reality is there was a human being inside the front of that float.
Absolutely.
And here's something I don't think you ever thought you would see. This is a little video clip that shows you how they get that guy in and out of there.
Oh, that's cool. Huh.
And of course, I'm sure backstage they didn't have the black curtain, but because they were on stage,
yeah, they had to keep it hidden.
They didn't want to see a human being bursting out of Simba's chest. So there we go. And last but not least, last little video clip here. Come on, you can do it. Here it is. And there they are.
Wow.
Dragging in, I don't know, canvas or bathrobes or
trying to hide everything.
Or something for Simba. So.
Oh, I totally see what they're doing there. Yeah.
Yep.
That is fascinating. Very cool.
As I said, if I had known we were using a totally new technology, I would have had those loaded up differently. But hey,
right
here we are.
How are you gonna know? That's great. So Katie just saw this show or this parade for the very first time last Thursday.
Yes.
And you've seen in person Festival of Fantasy, is that correct? In Florida. Yeah. You've seen Pixar Play Parade.
Mm-hmm.
You've now seen this and the 2 night parades. Is that correct for all your parades that you've seen in person?
Yeah. I mean, I've also not in person. I've seen Celebrate.
Okay. Yeah. So how does this rate compared to all of them?
This one's really good. I know, like, this is one of the best. It's hard for me to say it's my favorite without having seen it in person. But the show stops, the magic. It was very funny. I did my best and I succeeded on Thursday to not cry. When
so disappointing.
I couldn't cry. But when the finale unit did their show stop and it was the Walt Disney speech and I was like, ooh, cheap shot, but very good.
It works really well.
It works. I think that it is the parade of showing when you do everything right, when you do show stops right, when you do music right, when you do performers right. It's a really darn good parade. And my new thing is I need to go back and watch all the show stops because the only show stop I have seen is the finale unit.
Well, and that brings up an interesting thing is I have a huge pile of these sitting in my office, which I don't know if you guys know what they are, but they're mini digital video cassettes. And I will have a way to digitize these later this week, we're hoping. And on one of these cassette tapes, I actually have every show stop because we went in and filmed them all. And we had them on our old YouTube channel that has disappeared. And it was a major bummer. But we are going to try to get as many of those videos as we possibly can, and we'll get them up on the site. And I think they'll actually be higher quality today, taking them off than depending on degradation, than they were 15 years ago. Angela says in the chat, I feel like Parade of Dreams is the benchmark we judge all other parades against. It was so good. Absolutely correct. Very quickly, let's go around the square. What was your favorite unit from the Parade of Dreams? Ladies first, Katie. I don't know which way to point, but you know.
I really liked the finale unit, but I also really loved the Beauty and the Beast unit because there was full-on silverware doing cartwheels, which is not something you would see in a Disney park today, at least not in domestic park. You might see it in Disneyland Paris. Who knows? But I saw them do a cartwheel, and I fully was like, what is happening?
They had some really good stuff. Cameron, favorite unit?
Was this the one that had... Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay.
Is this the one that had the walking hat and gloves, or was that a different one?
Different one.
Different one.
Okay, then it's going to have to be this is the one with Merlin in it. This is the one that had Merlin previous to the current one that has Merlin in it.
He was a
This one had Geppetto.
It had Geppetto. It had Fairy Godmother.
Little Mermaid. It had Lion King.
I'm getting all the parades mixed up in my head. The Lion King unit was great, and they've reused that element in other parades since, so it's also the one I'm most familiar with, so I'm going to go Lion King.
Excellent choice. Doug, what was your favorite unit?
Well, as much as I liked the tea table trampoline in the Alice in Wonderland section,
yes.
I mean, that was a great concept. I have to say it was the whole Pinocchio unit. A, Pinocchio's my favorite classic. B, the giant, horrifying, terrifying Geppetto as a marionette, and the dolls were the human dancers. And then the bungee jumping dolls, you remember, bouncing up and down. They were in the clips.
Which actually was super cool.
Very super cool. And then, of course, one other very strange thing. Don't ask me why, but one of the dancing, there were two dancing dolls that were actual dolls. The male dancers danced the dolls around.
Yeah.
One of those dolls lived in my house for a while and then went and joined some friends of mine. And if you want to see what she's been up to lately, you can follow her on Facebook. Her Facebook page, yes, her Facebook page is Fran Doll, FranDoll, Fran Doll. See what Fran Doll from the Parade of Dreams has been up to in the last few years. Just put it in the chat. Yes.
There we go. Awesome. Other highlights from the 50th, obviously, were the fireworks, which were absolutely amazing, especially in their original incarnation with the full, was that 16, 18 minutes long? It was the most impressive fireworks show I think you've ever seen. I'm going to hop in, throw Jenny up on the chat there real quick. The favorite unit is Pinocchio, which is where Mr. Daps and I watched across the street from each other, and Lion King unit for the bird show stop. Katie will love that. And that was the spinning birds. I actually think that was one of the most impressive things that they did in that parade, because that was just ridiculously awesome and really just fun. Like, this was a parade that anybody, like, it had so many different styles and things added in it. Anybody that watched this parade was going to find something they liked, I think, and characters as well. And it's weird to think that it was 15 years ago that we were first introduced to it. And who knew? Yeah, right. All right. Well, let's keep moving on, because we're already over time, but we'll just keep going anyway. It'll be fine. Cameron got to do something really cool this week, and this is something that I think you've talked about for years, if I'm correct, Cameron. But what did you do very quickly, and how are people going to be able to see it?
Well, the trick to making mayonnaise at home is it's much easier than you would think it is.
The other thing.
Oh, right. I got to interview a very cool dude by the name of Don Carson, who I think would not take umbrage to me calling him a dude. He can correct me if you'd like. Don is a former Imagineer and theme park designer and attractions designer, and also just one of the coolest artist people I know. He began in a lot of 2D design work stuff, and was one of the first adapters for using 3D and VR and a lot of video game technology as a design tool rather than just a novelty. So he's one of the frontline folks for that. It's a privilege to call the guy a friend, and I got to have a conversation with him for what I thought was going to be 15 minutes, it ended up being closer to 40, about the process of building a dark ride from scratch. Don's been involved in this for decades in his career, and it's a process not a lot of folks get to learn about because so much of it is kept away, either because they're trying to keep it from the public for the time, or simply many things never reach the light of day and are held under NDA contract where they can't talk about it. So Don's taken a really interesting process and has put it step by step over the course of the last month, and has been sharing what it's like to design a dark ride from initial idea to the logic of actually putting it all together. And he's getting very near the finish of the process. So we chatted about what that process is like and how it relates to the process of everything he's done in the past. Some of you, not some of you, almost everyone who's watching will recognize his work at Disney in that he was the designer of Toontown, creative lead on that, and the creative lead for the Splash Mountain attraction at Walt Disney World. Those are all his concepts, and it's something that he's intimately familiar with, and it's really cool to see the process and how it actually works. And also, he's just one of the nicest, most conversational people in the entire world. So that is going to be premiering tomorrow at 7 p.m., I think is what we have that slotted as. And so that'll be premiering right here on YouTube. The link is available at dapsmagic.com. There will be an article going live pretty soon that'll have that link to it, and you can find it on our socials and a bunch of other places because I won't stop talking about it. But tomorrow at 7 p.m., chat with Don Carson. And probably the coolest thing about that conversation is that he also gave us permission to share a lot of his process visually. So you will get to see some of his art, him actually making it. You get to do a virtual reality ride through of this conceptual attraction as far as it's come. So just really cool stuff that you'll get to experience.
And that will be at 7 o'clock. We'll have a premiere going, so you'll be able to interact with, I think, Cameron, we're going to put you on it so you can interact with people since you were actually there, and then I won't pretend I know things I don't. And, sometimes I do, but if I don't have to, I'd rather not. But it'll be a great interview. It'll be fun to see, and we'll have that up on our YouTube channel, so don't miss that. Another thing that we have, we're going to keep this fairly short just because we are running a little bit over on time, is Doug. I know it's the era of staying home anyway, so people don't care.
It's quarantine, buddy.
So Doug went back in time 30 years and shared about one man's dream this month on 30 years ago at Disneyland, and I think I might have seen this once actually, Doug. As I was going through it, like I'm pretty sure I saw it on one of my trips to California. Because I wasn't quickly.
It only ran from December of '89 through April of '90,
and I think I saw it in December. And I think it was either December or right at the beginning in January as I was going through my stuff. And
I loved the show so much that I wanted to keep it forever, and so I have right here, and there it is. You talk about your mini discs that you're going to have to, or your mini cassettes.
It's exactly it.
This is
just
one
smaller.
man's dream, and it also has Pleasure Island on it.
So is that what you were taking the screenshots off of?
I would like, yes, I was.
Okay.
I'm just going to say that.
Yeah. Okay.
won't go into a lot about the show because the show is running short. But one section, you'll read a lot about it on the. Yeah, go to the blog. Go to the blog.
You should read it.
Blog and all about it. But
exactly.
One thing that I think is kind of fun is when we came to the section about all the Disney princesses. And today, how many are there? 132 of them, I believe.
1 million, yeah.
There's a battalion of Disney princesses. But in 1990, there were three Disney princesses, and forever it had been Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty. And so you could do a very expansive section and feature each of them, and you didn't have to bring in Belle and Ariel and start ticking off the list of Giselle. And Mulan is not a princess, by the way. I'm sorry, Mulan is not. Pocahontas is, but Mulan. Anyway, that was
they changed their minds, huh?
Yes. When I came to it, I said, "Oh, it's the Disney princess section," and there are 3 of them. So that was fun.
That is it was a fun read, and it was fun because it was one of those things. You and I were talking about this the other day. Is it was such a short run, and you think of the amount of choreography in this, and it's a fairly large cast, and like that's a lot of work for
a lot of scenery. There were daytime pyrotechnics in the show. They actually shot
Yeah.
off fireworks at the end, which they didn't in Japan. By the way, the show ran over 10 years in Tokyo and inspired a second edition.
Wow.
And here it was just because
Which is
they
crazy
wanted to have something.
how fast they
Yeah.
turn things over there too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Huh.
So they wanted to have something between the kids dancing and the show that was to follow, which I will be covering in June because it opened in June of 1990.
And what was that next show? Or we'll wait
I
for
will
June.
be covering that in June.
We'll see in
because
June.
It opened in June. You guys probably know what it was. What was it?
Lester's Possum Park.
Lester's Possum Park.
Absolutely. It was a tribute to all countries, but mostly America. No,
I
it
wish.
It was a very important show because it was, and I've been researching this, and I'm going to be sure that I'm right about this in June. It was the first Disney stage show that was built around a single entertainment property. It was the first time that they cross-promoted a show that was, the movie itself was in the theaters, the show was on the stage. It was this whole idea of the Disney synergy that was becoming more and more relentless.
Is this the one that also ended up moving over to a Carnation? Or they did an incarnation?
No.
No, okay.
No, not at the same time, no.
Okay.
That would be 2 years later, I want to say.
Okay.
This one was expected to become one of Disney's major franchises, a tentpole show. It was the vanity project of a major Hollywood film star. It was beset by problems at the beginning, and then it was, unfortunately, a box office dud, despite the fact it had one of the single biggest, most shining stars that was in Hollywood at the time, singing in the movie, not on the stage show, of course. And the stage show itself ran for exactly one summer, and then it was gone.
Huh. I can't wait to read this.
Yeah. I was going to say, if I had, in June, I'll have the mug with me.
Okay.
That will tell you. But
I
anyway,
can't wait.
And it really paved the way for so many shows that followed. Spirit of Pocahontas, Beauty and the Beast, and of course that then led to Disney theatricals. And so this show, even though it's pretty much largely forgotten, it's really at the time, who knew it was a really significant stage show.
I cannot wait to read this. This is gonna be great. Cool. That's great. When I was 9 years old. Speaking of 9 years old, Katie, there you go.
Wow! Oh my gosh!
All right.
Like the same.
So make sure to stop by Daps Magic and check out Doug's current 30 years ago in Disneyland, and next month's going to be. I'm really intrigued by this. One other thing, we got to hit a little Star Wars because
that's not next month. That's June.
That is next month.
No, well, okay. I'm sorry. I still have to do this month.
Okay, so
then next month.
I'm going to count it as next month still. So we have to hit a little Star Wars because yesterday was Star Wars Day and today is Revenge of the Fifth, and we wouldn't be doing our geekdom if we didn't hit this a little bit. And with the May 4th day came out a lot of Star Wars stuff on Disney Plus, and really all of it was awesome. And we could go into Clone Wars, but we won't because I could do an entire show by myself on that one because I was just I will say one thing. The last episode of Clone Wars might be some of the best Star Wars that has ever graced my TV screen. And they did a fantastic job with that, but we're not going to talk about it because.
And you've seen the Donnie and Marie Osmond Star Wars special, and you're still saying that?
Don't forget the Muppets also. But The Mandalorian got a docu-series that started yesterday called Disney Gallery: The Mandalorian, which makes me think it's the first of multiple. Yeah, first part of 8.
Yeah, it is.
I think there's going to be other Disney galleries that we're privy to in the future. And has everybody seen this or have an awareness? Did you get to watch it, everybody? Yeah.
Sorry, I've been binge watching prop culture.
That's allowed too. I from what I've
also
seen.
watched all of that.
Excellent. So we'll quickly hit. Have you watched The Mandalorian though, Doug? Not yet. Okay.
No.
You're going to need to.
Hey.
You've got homework now.
I kid you not. Last night, I finally watched Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, well, that's good. That's a good step.
And to which I will say, my thumbnail description, it's a very long movie. Okay, that's all.
So Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian is a docuseries. It's going through the different aspects of the making of The Mandalorian. And my takeaway from the first episode is I really want to go back and rewatch The Mandalorian because this documentary was so ridiculously fun and good. My other thing that I walked away from it is Dave Filoni is like the new Star Wars everything. And this was supposed to be a Jon Favreau show, I thought. And I was like, well, Dave Filoni was the star. And with that, I'm going to step aside for a second. And Katie, do you want to talk about what your thoughts very quickly on the Disney Gallery was? And then Cameron.
Yes, I actually watched it twice today. I watched it once.
Wow, it was that good, huh?
I watched it once as homework. And then my dad came home from the post office and I was like, hey, do you want to watch this thing? So we watched it again together. I love it. I love it all. I love how much fun they're having as the round table. I like the format of the round table. I just love the whole thing. I did not know how much Dave Filoni worked on before Clone Wars. Like, I had no idea the giant projects he was a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also just fun to see Taika Waititi be Taika Waititi. So
He was amazing.
it was my favorite thing was the cutaway from the round table just for Taika Waititi to say, I hated this.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone was professional.
Yeah.
Yeah, just everyone was amateur. I don't like Bryce Dallas Howard. And everyone sucked. And like
It was really funny.
As there's B-roll of him wearing a hat that says Yas while he's drinking a Smirnoff Ice. Like, it's,
Yeah,
It was pretty fun.
it was so good. It was Taika Waititi being Taika Waititi, which I thought
Yeah.
was genius. I just
Totally
love that
was.
they cut away from the format that they had agreed to, just for Taika Waititi to have this cutaway to be like, I hate this.
And the same day that this is released, where we get this really fun moment with him, we find out he's also co-writing and directing a new Star Wars film, which I think is a brilliant choice as well. Cameron, what did you think of this docu-series that we've seen so far? And you might as well talk about him getting a movie too.
Yeah. Before I hit Waititi, which I would never because he's a precious angel sent from
I don't know
above,
if I believe that. You might do it if he told you to.
just slap him right in the face out of respect. Quick shout out to Deborah Chow, who actually directed, I think, my favorite episodes of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Simply because she has a grasp of interpersonal relationships that I think some of the others don't struggle with, but it's just not their strength. And she has a grasp of making that work. So all respect to her. I think this was my first experience with her directorial work. And I'm excited because she is also connected to some future Star Wars stuff. So I'm excited to see what is coming from her in the future as well. And also just seeing Bryce Dallas Howard on screen and my wife going, is that Ron Howard's kid? Yeah. All right, I guess it makes sense. I'm like, yeah, look at the hair.
I loved how giddy she was the whole time. She was like, do you see it? Do you see it?
You know, an interesting thing too with her was the amount of impact that clearly Jurassic Park made on her life, because it kept coming up. And I was just like, wow, you're a bigger Jurassic Park fan than any of us.
Well, and then she did Jurassic World, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wore heels the whole time on her choice.
And ran away.
At first didn't understand, and then she talked about it, and then I understood. It's great.
I adore her.
Yep. But Taika Waititi, who is a precious star child and New Zealand's gift to America, I enjoyed him in The Mandalorian conversation because I've also been watching What We Do in the Shadows, which he writes with Jermaine Clement, who is his co-writer on a lot of stuff. And you get to see where the Mandalorian humor is that he is definitely contributing, because he has a very distinct style, and it's very fun to watch that style because it works very well in universe. But speaking to a movie, he has a knack for something very particular, which is endearing humor, in that it's not that the humor is funny, and it's some of the funniest stuff you'll see in your life. He personally directed the slapping the child scene, for example. But not only that, but he does humor in such a way that he is able to connect you to the characters in a very interesting way, which has really been the strength of Star Wars. Because Star Wars is, it's about space and fancy lightsabers and stuff, but it's about people. Any good story is about people, and Taika Waititi's way of presenting humor is about representing relationships and how they impact each other. So I'm excited to see when he has a little bit more control to kind of pull those narrative threads. And most importantly, Taika Waititi is a huge nerd for continuity, which is my favorite thing ever, and is really needed in the Star Wars universe. There are actually people who work at Lucasfilm that are called the Keepers of the Holocrons, and it's a job I want. Their job is literally to come onto a project and say, yes, that's factually accurate for Star Wars. No, that's not factually accurate for Star Wars. Greatest job ever. But that's how his mind works. And in some of his longer serial stuff, he is much more... he'll make reference to stuff that was 8 episodes ago in some of the serial stuff. And you're like, where's that coming from? So having the reins of a full movie is going to be really fun to see how he connects all the threads.
I can't wait to see what he does.
I would also like to say that one of my favorite things when they're talking about Taika Waititi is that he finds the humor in the action, but he doesn't make fun of the action.
Yes.
Which I think is a very delicate line to teeter. And I think that some people think that they are doing one thing, but they're actually doing the other. And my favorite line came out of it is that The Mandalorian doesn't take itself 100% seriously, but it does believe in itself.
Believe in itself. I literally wrote that down after he said it on the screen. It's the best line.
Well, and I sent it to Mr. Daps immediately after watching it. I was like, is this not the motto of Daps Magic? Like we don't take ourselves 100% seriously. But we do believe in ourselves. Like we're never down on ourselves at all. And I thought that was like my favorite thing, and that's very Taika Waititi, period. And that's kind of that sentence encapsulates why I'm excited.
Taika Waititiism?
Yeah.
Is that sort of thing? Yeah.
It encapsulates why I'm excited to see a movie from him. Because Star Wars doesn't need to take itself seriously. It just needs to have heart. So
And it will be fun. All right. Well, I don't think we can end on anything better than that. So
you should go to thegeekscorner.com. That is thegeekscorner.com. It is the website you may be watching this on right now. If you're not, you're probably on YouTube. But good news, thegeekscorner.com has all of these videos in one place, conveniently at the location, thegeekscorner.com.
Go to dapsmagic.com, check out all the Disney and geek news as it happens. Find Doug's article about 30 years ago in Disneyland and see all the really cool pictures and videos and all those things that are in store. Also, subscribe to our mailing list so you don't miss any of it, and find our Patreon.
And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss any of the retro videos we have coming up. We also have got Cameron's interview coming up tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Don't miss that as well. But I think we have new stuff scheduled pretty much every day for the next 2 weeks. So and
it's the most important thing. Hey, great.
Say it again. I couldn't
D&D
hear you.
on Thursday.
Oh, and
D&D.
Thursday night we will be playing Daps and Dragons, so don't miss that as well. It'll be a slightly different time because I have to work, but that's okay. This is all the time we have for you tonight, so we will see you around the corner.
Bye.